I just wonder if it's unbiblical to be a fat pastor. I don't think there's 51% of churches that have pastors that are called to pastor. You could just hit a search and type in, biblical finances, and some's going to come up. And what a blessing that is for y'all. People are like, oh, it's the devil. It is. I love it. I think anything's the devil if you're a pervert. Senior leadership is not something that you should desire. You should be called to it.
Welcome to the brand new podcast. I'm Sebastian Diffie. I'm the associate campus pastor at our Bergman campus.
My name is Roman, and I'm one of the worship pastors here.
And today I am honored to have a special guest right here on the podcast, the author of Breaking All the Rules, the author of 40,000 Words on Marriage and Parenting, the founder and senior pastor of Brand New Church, Pastor Shannon O'Dell.
With that introduction, it's so beautiful. I'm so grateful. Will I ever get to come back? Because that sounds like I'm only going to be here once.
Yes.
Thank you, Sebastian.
You're always welcome. Always welcome on the podcast.
I was just watching our church secretary. She was reading a book when I walked in there, Transforming Church in Rural America. Yep. She goes, everybody needs to read this. And I agree. You can get your copy at Amazon today.
Nice.
What we cover today, Sebastian?
Today we are covering more about you and about Brand New Church, because we know that there's so many people that want to hear from you in a more casual setting and not behind the pulpit, and they want to get to know you. And so I'm super excited to dive
I've always
into that.
wanted a pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen a really big pulpit? I mean,
Yes.
like it looks like this. Y'all are too young to know the Starship Enterprise, but Captain Kirk used to sit in a big, it looked like a pulpit. Mm-hmm. I think we need to get one of those. I think we need to do a series called The Pulpit.
The pulpit.
And just put a big old,
nice.
I can't say dirty because it means negative, but it doesn't mean negative. I mean, just a big old, weighs 50, no, 500 pounds. Get a big old mic. You can just adjust like Donald Trump. And he's always fiddling with his mic, don't you think?
I think so.
I think it'd be great. I think talking about the pulpit's key, because that's, kind of what we're doing today.
Nice.
And talking about the pulpit, oftentimes the most important things we don't talk about is what happens before you ever get behind the pulpit. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, Brand New Church, April will be here, just a few months, will be 20 years old. Speaking of brand new, I'll tell you two things that have changed my life as a pastor of Brand New Church at year 19.8 years. And the first is, as a pastor, you need to be healthy. I realized that I probably, when I thought I was burnt out, which was 2014, I really wasn't. I was just unhealthy. Now, I was unhealthy emotionally too, but I was very unhealthy physically. And spiritually, I would say I was healthy. Like, oh yeah, we know what spiritual health is, right? Roman, read the Bible. What else? Pray. We know
Eat your
all
vitamins.
Yeah, it's spiritual vitamins. Yeah, is that 2 Peter 1? There's 7 of those. But I was just unhealthy, and I was 84 pounds heavier. I didn't sleep good. I was reactionary to my wife. And I feel like now, 19.8 years of Brand New Church, that math may be wrong, but I think it's pretty close. Being healthy physically has changed everything about my leadership. Matter of fact, I would even throw this out there. I think that if you're leading a church focused on which we are, I mean, everybody is, right, on discipleship, you should be disciplined physically.
That's good.
What do you think?
Good. Yeah, I mean, I think it says in the Bible, Paul said, I train my body, so that it could be effective for the gospel. So I think that is head on.
Yeah. Is that 1 Corinthians 15? I could be quoting that incorrectly, where it basically says, I don't fight like a man beating the air. That, I mean, there's a discipline to that. I run the race. There's all those that you're referring to there. And I just realized it's changed my life. Matter of fact, I had a plumbing need at my house last week, and I called a plumber. He came out to the house. It was referred to by a church member. Really great guy. He doesn't go to our church. A young to me, not young to you two, but young to me, plumber. He's out there, and he was just like, "Man, you don't look like any pastor I've ever met." And I didn't know where he was headed with it, really. But then I listened, and he was just like, "Yeah, I've never seen a pastor that looks healthy, that looks fit."
That's wild.
That's wild.
And Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature. I mean, physical
right.
appearance is I mean, are you a disciple or are you disciplined or not?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big deal. I think it's a huge.
I completely agree. In my life, I know that whenever I'm the most disciplined in my spiritual walk, in my walk with Christ, is whenever I'm also the most disciplined in what I'm giving myself to eat and how hard I'm training and all of that. So I think it's a direct correlation
Yeah.
between those two disciplines. And plus, you're not going to want to be admonished by a fat pastor.
I just wonder if it's unbiblical to be a fat pastor.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you're missing out on the conduit of the overwhelming favor and blessing of God.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about a trivial. I mean, I don't know if it is trivial or not. I mean, we know gluttony is a sin. I mean, the scripture's clear on that. But if you just 1 Corinthians 6 it, that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, and then you're desiring, and I'm not saying that, you're going to look like, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which actually has lost a lot of weight since he stopped using steroids. But I don't know if that's factual, but I'm putting it here in the podcast. It may be the first to hear it here because he says he was natty, and there's no way. Either way, but I think he stopped taking them because he had a health issue. But you may not look like that with your shirt off, but you can look healthy.
Yeah.
Because I'm never going to be, skinny and sexy like Roman over here or Sebastian, but I definitely want to be the best I can be at 53, currently 53 years old. But I think if you're obese or gluttonous, I don't know. I don't know. I know you lose some effectiveness.
Yeah.
To the plumber, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I went on to say, I said, so you've seen a lot of pastors with plumber crack, and he thought that was funny because they bend over and their britches didn't fit right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting.
That's good. Well, Pastor, we have a question. We all want to know, how did Brand New Church start? What was the vision to starting Brand New Church, and the name? Where did that come from? All that stuff.
Brand New Church was a clear calling after I was called to senior leadership. So I was a student pastor for 12 and a half years, which I'm still a student pastor. I'm just a senior leader with a heart for students. But the scripture is very clear that, 1 Timothy chapter 3 gives, in my opinion, a trifecta of directive concerning the calling, and that being elder, that being overseer, that being episcopos or bishop. The deacon also is there, but some of those words, overlap a little bit. But I was called to senior leadership, and I knew that God was going to call me, and that was just at the time where, in 2002, where church planning kind of started catching on a little bit. There were churches that were starting, very few, but some started multi-site planning churches. God put it in my heart, and I told my wife, I was like, I'm called to be episcopos, a bishop, senior leader, and we just started praying about it. And I knew where God was going to call me. I mean, I knew where you could grow a church. You could, you're going to grow a church in, at that time, at least in 2002, in like North Atlanta. Mm-hmm. You're going to grow a church in, even at that time, sections and portions of Seattle were growing really, really fast at that time. There was a section of North Dallas is like a no-brainer. I'm like, man, I'm throwing down in North Dallas, at Prosper or any of those places. Now I think Salina now is the fastest growing in North Dallas there. That's why I knew San Diego was even on my radar. Well, it ends up that I get a call from South Lead Hill, Arkansas, population 88, which I drove by there my whole life. I'm going to make this very short, but basically, God put it in my heart to give options to places I grew up that didn't have options. They just had, what we might call, and I'm not here to bash churches because I love the Bride of Christ, but I would call it typical. It wasn't, it definitely wasn't evangelistic. Most churches were basically large, what I knew in my Southern Baptist upbringing, a large Sunday school class. Was basically what it was, And I would even say this, and this is going to be controversial, but I would even say most pastors and most churches in small communities that I was aware of, and even to make it specific to the community I grew up in, Boone County, there's, I think, close to 90 churches in that county of 19,000 and some change. And I would say out of 90 churches, there were probably only 10 pastors.
Wow.
Now they had 90 pastors, but I don't even think that, again, this is me just rambling here, but I really believe in my spirit I'm accurate. I don't think there's 51% of churches that have pastors that are called to pastor. I think that they just are continuing whatever happened with no vision and no change. So I was like, I want to give, these smaller communities, like where I grew up, something that is alive. And so, all that to say, I really didn't believe it was South Lead Hill. I begged God not to send me there. I put out all these, fleeces, which it's probably arrogant to even, or prideful to do before God. God answered them all. And then when we moved to South Lead Hill, we had 31 people our first Sunday. And, we asked for 100% unanimous vote. I still can't believe that's real. I don't even know how that happened. But we had 31 yeses. Cindy and I left. We cried all the way back to Oklahoma City. And then we moved into the parsonage.
Come on.
Yeah, parsonage. They added a bathroom, that was nice. So we had 1.5 baths. No, I think it was 2.5 baths. It made it 2.5 baths after that, and we moved in, and then church started to grow, and then it was like, we've got to do something. We were given another church in Bergman. They were running, they were very small, but they came to us in humility and were like, hey, would you just take our church over? So at that time we went to the association, made it all work. And, they had, 4 people that came to that church. So we purchased it, had 2 campuses at the time. And then we're like, we got to combine this. We got to, this is our time to make change. We had already changed our bylaws, which allowed us to do some of these things because we had antiquated, unbiblical bylaws. You ain't got time for that story, but either way, if we ever want to talk bylaws, we can. My mentor always says bylaws don't matter till they matter. And actually, our attorney's reviewing ours. They're from 2017, reviewing them, even to make sure they're ready right now. But all that to say, I was in my quiet time, and at the time, this would have been in 2005. So we'd been there not quite 3 years at Southside. I was like, like at my quiet time, like I normally do in my quiet time, which is I'll read a book. So I'll read a book. I was in Colossians, and I was reading out of the New Living Translation, not the NLT. Don't be confused, because I'm old enough to remember the New Living Translation, which is still what NLT is, but they call it the NLT.
Yeah.
But back in '96, they had a translation. They still have it. They don't sell it. I mean, it's hard to find. Mm-hmm. But I was reading in Colossians in chapter 3, verse 10, and it said, in its place, you've been given a brand new nature. It actually takes the word neo there and expounded on that, transliterated it, brand dash new, which neo obviously means that. It actually can be transliterated to brand spanking new. And then it had the phrase that really blessed me after that is continually being renewed. In other words, it's an infinitum. It's just, you're always brand new, which would be the best car you could ever buy. Would that not be amazing? If
Yes,
it just
it
like,
would.
if it resheaths itself, you know what I mean? Like every night you park it in, plug it in. Oh, it smells brand new. We have 4 children, so our cars did not smell brand new very long. But I never bought a brand new car. Couldn't afford one. But we did have a Suburban for 48 years. No, it was only about 19 years. But I was like, that's it. I want us to come to church and realize we're brand new. Because we are. We're a new creation.
Mm-hmm.
The old is gone. All things are made what?
Brand new.
Brand new. And Jesus said, I've come to make all things brand new. And I was like, that's it. And then for whatever reason, I don't know how or why. I may have done a word search. I can't remember, but I somehow ended up in Isaiah 43. It says, look and see, I'm doing something brand new. And that was actually out of the New International Version I was reading in that, or maybe even New King James translates it that way. And it says, look and see, I'm doing something brand new. A brand new thing. Streams in the desert. I was like, that's it. Brand new church. And when we started that, then we started to study what does church look like right now. And so we were in 2005 and had a lot of just, because no one wanted to, you couldn't call a pastor. It's like, hey, I'm in South Little, Arkansas. You got time for me? No one did. But I'd been around Pastor Ed enough to see and learn and be mentored. And he actually invited me and 4 other pastors down. I spent about 3 days with him, and I've just started shaping what I wanted for church, started writing it out, where we had just an expressive opportunity for celebratory worship in an environment and atmosphere where people felt comfortable to worship, where lost people felt comfortable to worship, and then gearing everything we do on Sunday to those who've not yet attended, not those that are attending. And we rented out the high school. That's a whole story too, if you ever want to talk about Bergman, Arkansas, and how we got Bergman High School available to us. That was a miracle of God. It truly was, through the school board. And we had 680 people show up on April 16th, 2006. Brand new church started.
That's so good.
Man, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. That's
really good. So would you say that Pastor Ed was somebody that mentored you through that?
Oh yeah, definitely. He was, matter of fact, I was with him last week, and I shared with him. He was just, if you know him at all, he's extremely eccentric, and just, you never know what's going to happen. So he just grabbed a microphone during breakfast. They had a little speaker in there, and he just started walking around the tables while I wasn't eating breakfast. I was just drinking coffee. And he was like, Shannon, what's going on? Like answer that in front of, 30 something pastors and their wives, real intimate group. And I said, I was just sitting here thinking, in 1998, I got something in the mail as a student pastor in Oklahoma City called the Creative Church Conference. It wasn't even C3 yet.
Wow.
And I drove down there and spent a lot of time just learning. I didn't even know church could be done that way. And it was a game changer in my life. And then Ed is so different. Like he's one that's like, hey, I can learn from a little church. So he invited me, and we went down there, and then he shaped me in so many ways, indirectly, things that I saw in the way that he operated his ecclesiology, that I was like, that's it. And I wanted to focus on, and my heart is, which is change lives.
That's good.
So it was huge. It was huge. And then in 2012, I was invited to speak at Church on the Move, Pastor Willie George's church. I'd never met him before. And since then, he's played a huge role in who we are as brand new church, and especially when it comes to the leadership aspects. But overall culture and I would say, again, our ecclesiology and then our structure, had huge role.
Yeah, that's
huge
really
role.
good.
I love that. In the 20 years, coming up on 20 years, 19.8 years
Yep.
of brand new church, and the 30 plus years of ministry, what is one of the biggest lessons you've learned? You've probably forgotten more than what most people know. And so what's one of the biggest lessons you've learned in those years?
I'd definitely say that in ministry, this summer's 35th year of full-time ministry, knowing that 3 of those years I wasn't married, but being married and living personal purity and walking with Jesus, personal discipline, spiritual discipline, that's all important. Now that I'm married, ultimately it's the effectiveness of my marriage is going to be the effectiveness of my pastoral influence for what God's called me to build and be a part of building the kingdom and leading the bride of Christ. So once God, by his grace, helped me see that, which would have been year 10 of my marriage, which I've been married 32 years. So 22 years ago, I was wrecked by the Holy Ghost, literally wrecked. And he was like, there's no leading. We already know this, back to 1 Timothy 3, but there's no leading my bride without effectively leading yours. And there's a lot of ministry and a lot of people in ministry that have hidden behind things that, I'm just getting honest, and I'm not here to bash anybody. I get it. I mean, I have marriage hurdles regularly, but I didn't make it a priority to make sure that before I ever stood on stage to communicate the word of God, that I made sure I had things right with my wife. And of course, year 10, I was, wasn't a senior leader yet. I was a student pastor, and I'm so glad God got a hold of me. And that's why I'm passionate about it with you guys. And I'm passionate about it with our staff. I mean, that's when I started praying with my wife every night. I was challenged to do that. And the washing your wife with the word, Ephesians 5, obviously 20 through the end of the chapter, it's just, it changed me. And I would tell every pastor that. I would tell them that. And then I'd say the second thing for me is, and then we've already kind of alluded to it, at least in our pre-conversation, is physical health. Physical health's changed my emotions. It's changed my sleep. It's changed the way I preach, changed the way I prepare. I'm preaching on Jephthah this week, this Sunday. And even in preparation for that, it's like, you get up earlier, I feel clearer. So marital health, physical health, it all relates. It's all so key. And then I would say the last thing is when I, by God's grace, understood what it meant to have financial margin in my life. And by the way, what I mean by margin is not millions, even though some people on Facebook say I'm a millionaire, and I'm grateful. Thank you. But having margin in my life financially is, it's been a game changer. And when I say financially, I'm saying like, I'm not saying hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm just saying, moving my margin to hundreds extra a month to now thousands. And that's about it. But eventually I want to see even more margin. And then I think for every pastor, those your temple's got to be taken care of, your marriage's got to be taken care of, and your money's got to be taken care of. I'd say those are 3 biggest things if you're leading a church.
Yeah, it's good.
100%.
Right? The bride of Christ, the local church, and it takes money to do ministry.
Yeah. So you talked about 3 things. You talk about relational with your wife. You talked about finances, making margin in that. So I just want to know, how did you get to that point? Was it like somebody called that out in your life? You talked about fitness and changing your fitness life. Was that a pastor or a mentor, a leader calling that out in your life? Or was it the Holy Spirit convicting you to make you say, okay, I need to pray with my wife every night. I need to get in the gym. I need to get some financial margin. How did that uphold in your life?
By God's grace, and only by his grace, I've been a hungry learner. It doesn't mean that I've, have done it well regularly, and I think we all need to be that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know what it is you need to be learning, but we just need to be learning. And that's the beauty of where y'all are right now, because you can literally, whether you like TikTok or not, you could just hit a search and type in, biblical finances, and some's going to come up, and what a blessing that is for y'all. I still remember the internet cranking. I mean, I remember that, and I'm so grateful. People are like, "Oh, it's the devil." It is. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think anything's the devil if you're a pervert. I mean, there was plenty of perverts in the 1980s with satellite dishes in their backyard, and they didn't even have the internet yet. Y'all aren't old enough to know about that, but it by God's grace, we were at a place. Cindy and I were at a place. I was like, this marriage conference came across our desk, and literally across I was like, I need a marriage conference. I'm gonna go and just eat crow. Because I knew I was just going to get whooped. Changed my life. And I was challenged at that marriage conference to pray with my wife. And it changed my life. It truly changed my life. Then I have people in my life that I consider overseers in my life. And we're restructuring even our bylaws as a church to have overseers, board overseers that are already a part of my life. People like Marty Sloan, you guys know and love, Brad White and others that are big part of my life, make a huge difference in my life. And one of them that came across was Dr. Stevens, and he just asked me, I mean, literally, he said, well, first he asked me if I'd take him turkey hunting. He'd never killed a turkey before. He said, would you fly up here to Tennessee and take me? I was like, yeah, I will. So I flew up there, and then I did their staff meeting for their church, great church in Knoxville. And he's like, tell me about the margin in your finances personally. I was like, what? That's good. He just point blank asked me. And he said, I asked that because somebody asked me that, and he told me what his name was and the mentor. And he's like, it changed my life. Well, it did change my life. Yeah. And then it changed the church's life, because then I was like, our church doesn't have margin. Mm-hmm. And so we began Heart for the House, and it changed it. So I would say that there's people in my life that I'm constantly learning from. Matter of fact, there's an individual I just met this last week that had huge impact on my life. He was like, what do you do to shepherd donors? I thought that was a great question. I was like,
it is a great question.
I don't shepherd our donors. I mean, a specific group like you would, your staff, and of course, I don't look at the money. I never looked at what people give. I just look at the totals, but I was like, I need to do that. So I just started that this week. And it was just 11 people that gave for the very first 11 family units. Yeah. It gave for the first time. I sent a video. It's been amazing. I had 4 testimonials in a matter of, it was less than an hour. I mean, they were just saying, thank you so much. And it was this really, definitely wouldn't have been a Jacob level video, but, or Chrislyn. It was definitely a Shannon level, but it was real. And I don't know. So that was someone speaking into my life. And I encourage people to get people in their life. Yeah. People that are like, man, I'm lonely in ministry. That's your fault. Yeah. I don't like if you're called, I don't believe in burnout. Yeah. There's plenty of people out there. They build podcasts on pastors being burnt out, and they build cabins and trips to Montana where they can all go out and be burnt out and drink vodka and scotch and smoke cigars and get worse down the. Either way, don't get me started on that. But as a pastor, I thank God for those people speaking into my life. I really do.
That's good. That's really good. I'm really curious, because you talked about, kind of just alluded to how some pastors aren't pastors. And would you say that that's because they didn't get a true call from God? Or would you say that it's just the way they're living their life? And I would honestly want to know how you got your call for rural America, for Brand New Church, for, the mantle that the Lord's placed on your life. Was that a calling? Was that in your room, in your quiet time? Was that, a big platform and somebody was like, man, you're going to be, or how did that?
The first call was senior leadership. I knew God was calling me to senior pastor, and I went under my current authority at the time.
That's good.
And I asked for his blessing. Matter of fact, I wanted his understanding, like, as a senior leader, and he's an incredible leader. He's the president of the Southern Baptist Convention at the time. He then went on to be the president of the International Mission Board, the largest mission sending organization in the world. He's an incredible leader, still a great leader, still to this day. And I just went and asked for his blessing. And he knew my weaknesses. He knew my capabilities. He was so gracious to allow me to preach a few times at a very large Southern Baptist church. And I went and got his blessing. I knew God would put it on my heart. Cindy and I were in unanimity. I went and got his blessing. And that's what a lot of people don't get. What happens as a student pastor, oftentimes you're like, oh, that's sexy. I want to be the leader. I don't want someone telling me what to do. And what I tell people is go for it. Get after it. I'll hand you that baton as soon as you can. You just need to make sure God does, because otherwise you're going to wreck a church. You're going to wreck your marriage. You're going to wreck your life, because senior leadership is not something that you should desire. You should be called to it. Yeah, and it was it was an evident, clear calling. Now, the specifics to being in communities like Farmington, 11 and a half, almost 12 years ago when we moved here, they had a McDonald's in Cardinal Corner. That was it. I mean, at that time, they were still 3A. They were still 3A conference. They weren't even, they hadn't even moved up to the Harrison Goblin size yet, we moved here, and of course, we know Fayetteville, the last frontier of Fayetteville is go west. And now this whole community, and God knew that. He knew that was going to grow so that we could, have capacity to fulfill the mission and vision of Brand New Church, which we haven't even really started. But when it came to the communities, it was very clear and evident that he was like, I want you to pastor in communities that you can offer a difference, not the same thing. And it is hard to get, what I want to call quality leadership, creative, innovative dreamers into communities that are small. Because when you're wanting to be a dreamer and you're really wanting to, where to go. I'm just being honest. I mean, it's not rocket science to say, hey, I'm going to move out to the growing, like intergalactic growth of Houston, Texas, and grow a church. I mean, you should have a church of 4,000 in a city of 14 million. I don't even know what Houston is now. It's a bunch of people. But when you're in a town at that time of 5,490 of Farmington, I think we're now up to almost 7,000, or maybe we just were over 7,000. And it's just growing like crazy. I thank God for that, because he wants to do something unbelievable there. So the calling to what you would consider that indigenous, rural community, that was after I received the calling to senior leadership. But I'm going to say it again. And again, this could be controversial. Maybe we need to make this into a mini soundbite. But most pastors, and I'm using, 51%, most people that are lead pastors of churches, I would say, are not called to. Wow. And I think if we whittled it down to who are really called, we'd have number one, we'd have a lot more purity, we'd have a lot more holiness, and we'd have a lot more, let me back up and say it this way, we'd have a lot less camps of individuals that are facing burnout, because a calling to senior leadership is a marriage. And if you're treating your marriage as burnout, and I'm just going to get a divorce and roll on, and I'm going to blame it on the bride, then you're going to live your whole life that way.
Wow. And
reproduction is also a part of the church. You should be reproducing. If you're not reproducing, you're not growing. You're not a vibrant bride. And so the reason most people are battling that is because they're not called. And I tell people, I tell people all the time, even I've told staff members this, where they come up to me, I'm saying in the last 5 years, they're just like, I just really feel like we need to blah, blah, and blah. I was like, go do it.
Yeah.
Hey, grab you a church, big boy. Get after it. God bless you. And I'm not here to bash people. I just know that there's some people that shouldn't be. Matter of fact, I know people that are planting churches as I speak that are not senior leaders.
Wow. And
some that I even tried to talk out of doing it.
Yeah.
But it's the sexier, people seem to like the stage, and they want to preach all the time. And I was like, why? Why not be like Roman, be the worship guy? Yeah. You don't even have to write your own music. You just steal everybody's. And then they get mad at the pastor. He's like, oh, we use Chat GPT. I was like, you use Bethel. Come on, man. You ain't writing your own song every week. GCD. Surely you can come up with a GCD song every week. That's I love you, Jesus. I love you. Can't you write your own? Everybody like, oh, you must use Grok for his message. Yeah, maybe I did. But no, I didn't. But there is a lot of good stuff with AI. I think that's someone texted me actually. He says, "What do you think about AI?" I think it's the Antichrist. I was like, "You can think whatever you want. I love it. I love AI. I think it's amazing. I think it's great to assist with stuff. But when it comes to senior leadership, if you're not called, you're going to be gassed out fast, and you won't have a voice."
Yeah.
And people ask me all the time. I had someone ask me that. What people always ask is, how do I lose so much weight? That's what people ask. I'm serious. No one even cares about Jesus. They just want to know how. I mean, everybody's like, why don't you want to, how did you stop looking like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? The other thing people I've noticed about pastors that aren't called is they're so insecure they can't celebrate wins of other churches.
Yeah.
We have a pastor in our area here that's a part of Rick Bazzette's church, New Life Church. He's a local pastor, Seth. And he's a celebrator. I know he's called to senior leadership, but he'll celebrate brand new church. I mean, we're 21 minutes down the road from him, maybe a little more than that, but not much. And next city over, and he celebrates us. My point is, when you know you're called, you're willing to go through it. And then when you marry the vision, then you're willing for as my mentor says, go through the brutal experience, the brutal part. And it's been brutal. It's been brutal and beautiful.
Yeah.
And because I was telling Jacob yesterday, or Jeremy, maybe it's Jacob, we're 21 people away from 400 baptisms this year.
Praise
and
God.
Which is, again, people are like, oh, you shouldn't talk about numbers. I'm like, I do. The reason you don't want to talk about numbers is because you ain't got none most of the time. I mean, you ever heard a rapper not say they make $1 million every 5 minutes? No, that's what they rap about. Well, God does the number growth. We're giving him the glory. And this will be the most baptisms in a 12-month period we've ever experienced. And I just said, if we don't get to 400, I'm just going to baptize, maybe one of my grandkids and just say, we'll count that for later. We'll get it to 400 somehow. That's a joke. That's a joke. Everybody relax.
That's good.
One of the things that I love about Brand New Church is just how creative we are as a local body. And you just mentioned innovation, creativity, and dreaming in your personal walk, but also in your ministry and in your marriage. How do you keep the innovation, the dreaming, and the creativity flowing to keep things fresh?
I wish I knew like an answer to that. Like, man, I research and study this. I am a learner, but creativity doesn't come because I read a great book. It just doesn't. Ultimately, we're all creative because we're created in God's image. God's the ultimate creative, right? Ultimately. But there are people that just aren't creative, and I get it. And so I just tell people that it doesn't come natural to them to just steal stuff. Like literally go find somebody that has a great message series and rip it off. Just rip it, every piece of it. I have friends that literally, I'll see their series. Like a good friend of mine that I hunt with sometimes, I literally just this spring saw our If I Only Had a Brain series and the logo, the graphics, everything's like, I was like, dude, you ripped the whole thing off. I love that. He's like, yeah, I'm not. He goes to Brand New Church to get his creativity. Yeah. For me, receive this however you want. It just comes natural. Yeah. It flows out of me. I can't help myself. For those of the, especially a content team, and it probably happens a little bit more with Roman than it would you, Sebastian, and with Evan and others, it's like, I see it and I really feel like we need to do it. And we're going with it. It's just like even, us building this new next gen building. I'm like, I can't call it student building. I can't do it. And in my own creativity, the reason is because that we're narrowing the vision. Yeah. And ultimately that building is going to be too small for all the students we're going to have. And ultimately we're going to use it more than just students. Yeah. And so whether it's nomenclature's big, like it is huge to me. It means so much. And the other pieces are like, I'm not going to teach a typical Gideon message. It's going to end up being something that the 300 means more than anything else, So it comes supernaturally, but it is natural. Words are natural for me. The way I say things, it's natural for me. It literally happens. There's a lot of times that, like, I'll send my notes because a pastor listened to me. He's like, what about that stuff you said? It's like, it wasn't in there. That happened on the spot, and if you've been in my services I mean, sometimes it's not even the same message, but the Spirit of God put that in me, and that's just who I am. But I tell people, if you're not creative, don't force it.
Yeah.
Don't even try. It's like, because, and I'm good with corny, but you can tell when it's forced.
Yeah.
Corny's good. I love corny. I think corny is so good. It's because I'm 53. But forced creativity is, you can tell it. You can smell it.
Yeah.
What I love about your attitude is that you're so generous and so giving about your creativity. And I see a lot of pastors kind of rip your messages and your series like you just mentioned, but a lot of people would kind of get offended by that. And a lot of people have, like, for example, Bryce Crawford took a message from Judah Smith, and online they just ripped him apart from it. But Judah was humble about it and loved it. How do you think you keep that spirit of just humility around? How do you not get offended whenever somebody does steal your creativity?
Oh, I love it.
And you're so generous.
I hope people steal it. There's no greater honor than the gift God's given me that allows someone else to be inspired by it. I think it's fantastic. I love it. And at the same time, if there's any way that I can assist anybody, I don't know. Jacob's in the room here. I mean, obviously putting this together, he knows. I mean, there's people all the time. I'm like, hey, send him the whole series. Send him all the graphics. We just had an individual. They have a ministry in Kansas, effective, growing ministry. They're like, can we have everything you have for Romance Uncensored? And I was like, take it all. Yeah. And because ultimately, is it really mine? No, it's not. I mean, it's God's, and I love helping people get ahead. 35 years in, I know how hard it is to craft a sermon series. Yeah. It's work. It is work, and if you can get ahead on that, especially for church planners, if they can have 8 or 10 series in their holster ready to roll, they can do a ton more building the community within the church relationally, and ultimately, we're all really stealing. I mean, God wrote the book.
That's right.
And, there's nothing new. There's nothing original. Yep. Nothing's original. Everything's stolen. I remember one time, what's the book I read? The Art of Stealing, Steal Like an Artist. It is an awesome book. And it takes all of like the real infamous raiders in the desert scene from George Lucas' first Star Wars. Like it's like the most original thing. And then this guy goes, no, this is exactly where he stole it. And he shows the clip from a John Wayne movie. It looks the exact same. It's like so stolen. There's nothing original. So just be grateful. And anything I've got, I can give to people. Like our Christmas series, I'm so excited about Fa La 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 La. I cannot wait. Yeah. Well, can't wait to teach on joy. I can't wait to celebrate Christmas, which, by the way, is 65 days away. Throwing that out there. That's good.
Whoa. Yeah, that's so good. I love how you're so unified in the body of Christ. And, we're all a part of the same body. Like whether Brand New Church does something or New Life Church does something, I love how you're so freely given and you so, sermon series or whatever, you just allow people to take those different types of things. I want to ask, because you've been in ministry 30 plus years.
35, yeah.
35 years. So how do you stay the course in longevity? Like, how does that stay with you? And I know you talked about how you need to be called to be a senior leader or to be called to be a pastor to stay with it, because it is a relationship. It is a covenant in keeping that. But my only question is, how do you practically stay the course?
You have to daily fill. You have to daily have that Psalms 1:1-4 moment every day. And when I say that, I mean it as legalistically as it sounds, because the scripture is very clear on it too. If you're only going to be able to pour out to the level that you've filled up. And so you've got to fill up, and you can't lead unless, you've been filled up. So daily worship allows you to keep focused. The other is the clarity of calling, just like your marriage. Yeah. You're in it. It's a covenant calling. It's not optional. There are people that are like, hey, I got called out of ministry. I tell them, you were never called to ministry because you would be miserable otherwise. And there are just people that they're not called. So I'm good with them leaving. I get it. Because it is hard. Yep. It is so hard. It'd be a lot easier to sell insurance, and I'd be good at it. I'm going to tell you right now. I could tear up some insurance sales. I'd be a gazillionaire. But when you're called, you stay filled up, you stay close, you stay sensitive to the Holy Spirit. You're passionate about His Word, and then the vision comes alive within your calling, just like it does with my marriage. Yeah. So. You stay in it that way. And the other thing is you've got to make sure that you stay pure. Yeah. And what I mean by that is where you have great accountability, because there's been times where I've hit the pothole of impurity, the pothole of unholiness, the pothole of wandering eyes, the pothole of, and you got to stay focused. And as you stay focused on that and you're close with your wife, even in praying with her every night has changed it too, because she can sense when I'm out of kilter. And that's helped stay focused in it too. I would just challenge anybody, if we get, if God gives us traction at any level with this, what we're saying right here, my heart, my desire is that somebody would just get honest about their calling, because calling will carry you.
That's good.
And not being called, I'd get out. I tell you right now, there is I even told my kids, if there's anything you can do besides ministry and make money, please do it.
Yeah.
But if you're called, get in it, be
good.
ready to win it. And I think my grace stays ahead. I'm 35 years in full-time ministry.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know I've got 35 more.
That's
so
good.
I'm ready to roll until I'm 84. And then I'm going to drive the monorail at Disney World.
Yeah. Well, one of the last questions we want to ask is, since, brand new church, brand new podcast, we want to ask, what is something that God is doing brand new in your life or in your world?
I would say the most recent fulfillment in my life that has led to a new focus in my life, and I'm using this term very broadly. I haven't really labeled it, but is legacy. Like, I am so enjoying pouring into watching two things. Number one, like with my grandkids and my kids having kids, it is bringing me so much joy. And I feel like a brand new parent, even though I'm G-Paw, but I really feel like I get to parent these kids. I get to do this again. Cause Facebook Senior Sundays, which I hate, but everybody's like, Senior Sunday is the last. Can I just tell you real quick? They all come back. The kids come back. I can tell you right now, I took a shower today with Ariel and 2 monster trucks. He did Prosper left his monster trucks in there. Ariel's swimming in Cece's bathtub. They're all in there while I'm taking a shower. When I thought there were going to be no more toys to step on, I just stepped on the smallest little bracelet and it went right through my foot. I'm like, I'm back. Yes, I love this. So don't worry about it, Senior Sunday, Dad or Mom. That legacy is key. The other legacy I'm really enjoying is you guys. And these other 20-somethings that are filling up this bullpen of called leaders, and it is bringing me so much joy. I mean, just watching, I saw when I was in Boston last week, I saw some of y'all's pictures, like you leading worship with, hundreds of students in there, watching Sebastian in a town of 407, county of less than 20,000, have 120, 150 students and leaders in there, and watching, Ryan and Gabe and Sebastian growing in their teaching. Sebastian's campus has literally almost doubled under his leadership. And what I mean by that is the relational leadership. It's true pastoring, like these 20-something couples showing up. Man, it's made this, I don't want to say old heart, because I am what I talk about, but 53, it brings me as much joy as the day I started Brand New Church, almost 20 years ago. So it's a blessing, and I look forward to this podcast. I hope this thing gets biblical anointing and traction, and we can help some people out, especially pastors, but G-Paws and dads and people that may be battling marriage issues, or maybe we can talk about political issues sometimes that cross over into which are really church issues that become political issues, because I love talking about that.
Yeah.
That's right.
I won't tell anybody who I voted for or anything, but it rhymes with rump. Just throwing that out there. I didn't say who.
Well, that's so good. Well,
Yeah.
Pastor, we love you, and I'm honestly, it's an honor to be here, be a part of this staff, just because your leadership is incredible. I mean, it's like no other, literally. And I've been to a couple churches in my 23 years, and I honestly love the way you pastor. I love the way you lead. It's actual leadership. It's not just, hey, go do this, and I'm a boss, and I'm gonna just, sit here and enjoy the high life. But it's actually, I'm gonna get in the trenches with you guys, and I'm gonna pull you guys, and I really appreciate you. So
That's right. That's why we're getting ready to go to the gym right now.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
Right? People that don't go to the gym are wusses. I'm not going to mention any names, but it rhymes with Jacob. Oh, yeah. I love it. Yeah, because you can be too busy to skip out on anything, make excuses for it. Just throwing that out there.
That's good.
I'm grateful for this podcast. I look forward to you guys joining us again, and keep putting out the content in Jesus' name.
Absolutely.